This video is about the red flags that Candus threw off on Dr. Phil, Part 2. Dr. Phil, let me just say I'm glad to meet you both, but very sorry for the occasion. I wish we were talking about 1,000 other things other than your missing daughter Summer. Since you last talked to Scott and Greg, have you learned anything at all, anything new from the TBI? Anything that we don't know?
Nothing at all.
Nothing at all.
Nothing at all.
First of all, tell me about Summer, Candus. You're her mom. What did she like? How did she spend her time mostly?
Playing with the toys.
Does she like to play inside, outside?
I like to be outside most of the time.
You have 3 boys, and Summer is the youngest? Candus said yes. How'd she get along with the boys?
She was boss of the boys.
Dr. Phil, she ran the boys? She said yes. And watching her run around, she sure had a lot of energy. Was she one that would wander off, chase a butterfly and look up and realize she was further away than she thought she might be?
No. She was
the
still
house.
close to the house.
Was she a daddy's girl or a mama's girl?
She was a daddy's girl. Yeah.
There were some vehicles that were seen around the property that day. A red truck, for example. Did that person ever come forward and identify themselves?
Never did come forward as far as we know.
Do y'all know anybody with a red truck? Dawn and Candus both say no. Statistics tell us when children are abducted or molested or in any way victimized, it's very seldom by strangers. It's a friend of the family, a family member. It's somebody that has access to the family. Do you have any idea, any concept of anybody that would have had knowledge of your property? Down that road, how to do anything? I'm not asking you to name somebody here. But is there anybody that comes to mind that might have seen Summer or targeted you?
Not that we know of. We've been thinking about that constantly.
Candus, was there anybody that made you uncomfortable, the way they looked at her or were around her?
Nobody that I'm aware of. Nobody that I'm aware of.
I've been involved in a lot of these investigations, and I've got some observations I want to share with you that I think I feel real strongly about. To make matters worse for Dawn and Candus, CPS removed their 3 sons from the house. That might be a bad thing, that might not be a bad thing, given some of the hate that's been directed towards them. Dawn says, once Summer was taken, CPS had to open a case for our good and for the boys' protection. CPS thought our house was dangerous. CPS took our boys. I was glad at the time. I was glad they were not here because I was scared to death for their lives. This is the hardest of me and Candus's life. You lose your daughter and everybody blames you for it, then everybody turns on you. We have threatening phone calls daily. They've threatened my job. They've done everything they could to destroy our family. Had a stranger come up at 2 in the morning, didn't know what he was doing there. I shot over his head, and they ran down the driveway. I expected bullet holes to be coming through our house. We had a lot of sleepless nights. It took a toll on me. At one point, I broke down. I lost it. I started drinking really bad, and I made some poor decisions. Once Summer was taken, CPS had to open a case for our good and for the boys' protection. CPS thought our house was dangerous. I was being dangerous. CPS took our boys, which I was glad at the time. I was glad they were not here because I was scared to death for their lives. I agreed with them. My wife didn't. She's mad at me, but it was just too dangerous. Now it's 3 months later and there's no sign of our daughter. We miss all our kids. We just miss them so much. Dr. Phil, you want the boys back? Don says, yes, sir. To Candus, and you didn't want them to be taken to begin with. No, she wants them back. You think it's safe for them to come back?
It's a lot safer than it was.
Yeah.
You haven't had any acts of violence against you at the house?
No.
So there's no reason in terms of acts of violence that have been perpetrated against you that would cause them to conclude that the boys would be in harm's way at the house?
No, we just had one issue with a woman sent to our house, and we don't know. We've heard she was sent from some YouTubers. We don't know, but we called the police right away, and they took her off the property.
If they did a home study right now, they came in and studied your home, would it meet the standard they're looking for? Would the house be clean, uncluttered, groceries, safe as far as guns? Everything that CPS investigates, would it be proper for the boys?
There's some things they want us to work on. We need to put in a couple walls and some other things. So there's still a few things we need to work on.
Let me tell you what I think. Like I said, I've done this a lot. I trained as a forensic psychologist. Psychology and the law, and the forensics of human behavior. Based on the timeline and the factors here, it's very clear to me that neither one of you did anything to hurt your daughter. That's very clear to me. Do you understand that I understand that? And do you understand that initially, if it's the husband that goes missing or gets killed, they look at the spouse? If it's the wife that goes missing, they look at the husband, because statistically, oftentimes, that's who it is. Because of access, opportunity, motive, means, all of that. They look at the spouse. So when it's a child, something happens to a child, parents are the ones in control of the child, so that's the first place they look. And when I first learned about this case, the first thing I looked at was, okay, what would be the opportunity for the father and mother? And I looked at that not knowing y'all at all. And looking at the timeline, there's no way either one of you did harm to your daughter. And I hate to even say these words, killed your daughter and hid her body in the woods somewhere. I just don't believe that's even possible. So understand, I'm not sitting here wondering if you killed your daughter. Don says, awesome, thank you. I don't think that for a second. I'm saying that publicly. So if people are wondering what I think, that's what I think. I don't think you did that. And I assume I'm correct about that. He says to Dawn, you didn't do anything to hurt your daughter? No, sir. He says to Candus the same thing? No, sir. The reason that I can conclude that is based on the timeline. You couldn't have done that and hidden the body somewhere that couldn't have been found by now. Cadaver dogs, hunting dogs, search parties, all of that. You couldn't have gotten far enough away before authorities and search parties and everybody got in there. The question that I'm left with is, do you know something about it that you haven't shared? Something that you did not even consider. There may be something in your mind you don't even know you know. Or you may have something in your mind that you haven't chosen to speculate about. You haven't chosen to tell. That's what I'm focused on right now, because you're in the best position to know. What could have happened? If you had to speculate, what do you think happened?
I have no idea what happened.
Well,
I don't.
Well, you have to have some idea, because you took her in the house and never saw her come out.
Right.
Something happened. I don't know what happened. She was just gone.
She just was gone.
But she didn't just vaporize. Someone had to take her out of that house. We know it wasn't you. We know you didn't do anything to her. So if it wasn't you, who was it? Let's rule you out. We'll just take you off the chessboard. You're off the table. If it wasn't you, then who would be the most likely candidate?
I don't know. I wish I knew.
Dr. Phil, would it be someone, a stranger? Would it be someone you know?
I don't know anybody that would have did it. It had to be a stranger.
Is there anybody you knew that's disappeared since this happened?
No.
They were just around and then this happened. All of a sudden they moved away? They've gone away somewhere?
Nobody that I know
The only people that I know is the people I work with on a daily basis, and that's the only ones I've ever hung out with. I work all the time, and when I am home, I'm with my kids and her.
Is there anybody that you've had dealings with that are shady? That would do something revenge-wise just to get back at you, to hurt you? Owe money, or that you've had illicit dealings with? We know you've had some conflict with the law concerning drugs and certain things. Is there somebody that you've gotten sideways with? Don says, I fired a lot of guys for being on meth. The last guy I fired a day before, pretty sure I can't prove it.
He was way out there, and I fired him. The very next day, my daughter disappeared. And the law, TBI's been talking to him, and he's got an alibi where he was.
Is there anybody that he's been involved with that you think might be trying to get even with you all?
Not that I'm aware of.
Is there anybody that might be trying to get even with you that would try to hurt you by taking your daughter?
Can't think of anybody.
Nobody in the drug culture, nobody owed money, nobody?
In our area, there's people that, you got these boys, and then you got these boys that they're very prideful about, kind of like, I guess, LA, you got the Bloods and the Crips. Well, these are hillbillies. I don't know. But we don't associate with them. We don't socialize with them. We try to socialize with our church. We try to keep our kids in that church. That's our main goal.
We try to stay completely far away from that activity. Dr. Phil says, yeah, but you haven't always. Dr. Phil says, when you guys sat down with Scott and Greg, they asked you about organized crime in the area. We know that trafficking goes on. People take children. I hate to even say this because it's such a horrible thing, but they take children. And they sell them. They sell them into all kinds of different lives. Sex trade, slave trade, it happens here in LA, it happens there. And they asked you about organized crime. When Scott asked you about the cornbread mafia, you got very upset. When he asked you about that, why did that upset you so much?
Because I don't even know what that is.
Sorry?
I've never even heard of it. I don't even know what it is.
Then why would it upset you so much?
Because it sounds horrible.
Just thinking her in her mind, she feels like she's being interrogated. It bothers her because she loves her daughter with all her heart.
She spent a lot of quality time with her every day, thank God. She took a lot of pictures.
Dr. Phil, why don't you let her answer? Because that's not interrogating you. We're trying to help you find your daughter. I started this out by saying, I don't think you hurt your daughter. I'm standing up for you. I'm saying I don't think you hurt your daughter. But I'm going to turn over every rock. I'm going to go down every trail. I'm going to investigate everything. If you want to find her, you would be right there beside me. Saying, right, Doc, let's turn this rock over. Let's ask this person. Let's consider this. It doesn't make sense to me that you got up and left the interview when they asked you about that. I didn't understand that. You want to find your daughter, obviously. It puzzles me that you got so upset about that. One theory about that is guilty knowledge. You may know something that you don't even know you know. You may be so afraid of something that's so horrible you don't even want to think about it. And so you push it down because you don't even want to think about it. But I want you to think about it. I want you to be willing to consider every possibility, because it's only when you start thinking about the darkest possibilities that we can find answers. And the Cornbread Mafia, Scott defined that for us. Sort of an organized crime syndicate in the South. Runs from Tennessee to Georgia. It's widespread. Some parts are thicker than others. But overall, it's there. It's kind of homegrown. This isn't out of Miami, New York, or Chicago. Dr. Phil, this is a local crime syndicate. There's a lot of meth trafficking in it. There's a lot of all sorts of things. There's a lot of meth labs in that area. These are organized. These are independent. It's even harder to penetrate because everybody knows everybody. And there's trafficking in that part of the country, like every part of the country. So one of the theories is someone abducted her in that regard. I don't know that. I'm just saying you have to consider that. Somebody took her for some reason.
That's been one of my theories, because there's been a lot of people coming up to our house and just taking whatever at night. They come up, they knew where we were one day, and they took all the tools out of my shed. And that's been one of my theories, is someone local that's been watching us. And then the other theory is a more professional type mafia or whatever. I don't know, but that's always been one of my theories. But I never heard about no cornbread mafia.
Candus, if I understood you correctly, what you've said, you said you took Summer to the front door and you said to the three boys, keep an eye on Summer. Then you did what?
Then I went back outside to my mom's camper, which was right next to the house. And I had to fix her knee brace for only 2 minutes.
Okay.
I went back in the house.
When you went back in, what did you see?
The three boys sitting there watching TV.
Okay, and no Summer?
No Summer.
Okay.
I asked the boys where she was at. And they told me that she went downstairs to play with her toys.
Dr. Phil, would she do that? Would she just say, I'm going downstairs to play with my toys, or would she just go?
No, she'd tell the boys. Well, I hollered for her at first. I went directly down there. I looked for her everywhere I could look. In the room, under the blankets, whatever. And she was gone.
What's the way to get out of there besides coming back upstairs?
It's just the basement door.
That back door.
Yeah.
If that door opens, could the boys hear it?
No, if they had the TV up loud.
Is she known to go out that back door?
She'll go out the back door, but then she'll circle around by her swing.
We're seeing here as we're looking out the back door, yes. Yeah. Is there a road there?
Driveway.
Driveway, can that be seen from your mother's camper?
No.
I can see that from her camper.
Not that part, no.
If you step out on the road there, you can about see your camper.
And that drive there goes up to the highway?
It circles around the house. Right there, it goes to the top, and then it goes down around to it. It circles all the way around the house.
That's the door to her room? Dawn says yes. Okay, if she came out the back door, there was somebody there. Could they have grabbed her right there?
the dogs led, the scent went straight down that dog trail by that yellow generator, right from where that picture's taken.
Are you saying this is the back door? Yes, sir. So you're saying there was a scent that went in this direction?
Yes, all the way down to Ben Hill Road.
This looks like a big circle. How do you get back to the highway?
So you go down the driveway to Ben Hill Road and then turn left, and it takes you out to Beach Creek area.
So for someone to drive away, they would have had to come on around the circle and exit here?
That's a possibility, but we think they were parked down on the Ben Hill Road.
Okay, so you think they would have walked on through the woods down to Ben Hill Road and left the car at the road? Yes.
And that's what the dogs indicated. The scent went down to the road, and then somewhere on that road, the scent disappeared.
How would they have known she was going to be there? Would they have gone inside the room to get her?
Possibility. I wasn't even aware the trail was there.
So your belief is that this could be the last spot that Summer was on the property? Don says yes, sir. That she was put in a vehicle there and driven away? Scott and Greg, you interviewed this family for hours. What's your theory? Greg says, I'll tell you right up front, I don't think either one of them killed or injured Summer. I'll also say that I don't think Don has any guilty knowledge of anything. Based on all the time I've spent with him, and Candus, if you don't have any guilty knowledge, if you know anything, this is your kid. You need to push this out, whatever you know. You show signs that you're hiding something.
I'm not hiding anything, though.
The reason why is whenever we mention the cornbread mafia, you emotionally fall apart. We see signs of stress.
But I don't know anything.
Everything about your body language suggests or indicates to us that you know a little more than you're telling us. There are 2 or 3 really red flags that make us want to know more. Not saying that you did X or you did Y. There are a lot of things that leak from your body language and your behavior. That's what we're seeing. Do you understand that we don't suspect you of doing something wrong, Dr. Phil says?
Yes, I understand that.
It's important to me that you understand that.
Yes, I understand that.
You guys have passed polygraph, just the logistics of this thing. It just does not point to you. If any investigators point to you, they're not doing the math. It doesn't make sense. To Candus, what I'm saying is, I think you know more than you're telling. And that may be more than you're consciously acknowledging. You may know things that you don't know you know, or it's just too horrible to think about, but you've got to cut through that because you do react to certain things. That suggests at some level you know more than you're giving a voice to. It's hard for me to say you need to tell us something that you don't know. But if I knew, then I could tell you, she says. I'm saying you've got to be willing to take your guards down and think through anything that you're pushing out of your consciousness. If there's anything that you're not willing to acknowledge, we need your help to find your daughter. I guarantee you when this is solved, and it's going to be solved, this isn't going to be a stranger. This is going to be somebody you know. Somebody you've crossed paths with, someone, somewhere, somehow. It's a matter of you're going to find out when they're caught, or you're going to find out when you go back through and do an inventory. and figure everything you can possibly figure out and lead us to who they are. Every day that goes by, the trail gets colder and colder. If she was abducted and she's been trafficked somewhere, she can be found. I want to find that baby. I want to find that child and bring her back. Don and Candus say thank you. We've dismissed Don and Candus. Now he talks to Scott and Greg. You've had the opportunity to observe the interactions. Any thoughts? Scott, we saw a lot of differences in Candus, her movements. Her cues are very small, but all she did was dead-eye you the whole time. Her biggest focus was her respiration. When you start talking about the cornbread mafia, we'll see her respiration increase. We'll see her adapt. Adapters are something you use to get rid of stress or tension. Anything that's repetitive action or motion. She was doing that here, very small. Then we saw her breathing heavily. The closer you got, then she got to breathing. She may have nothing to do with the child's disappearance whatsoever, but those red flag indicators, those things that say, why aren't you being more forthcoming? Why don't you tell? And you can see it very clearly as you watch the video. Jacket opening and closing because of so much respiration. And the barrier ring needing more space just makes you feel more uncomfortable. I think there are people who have been around this home, workers with Dawn, people coming over to hang out, party or whatever. I don't want to make any allegations about what they were doing there. You know, they see somebody, they get obsessed, and then come back on their own accord and take the child. It's happened, sadly, thousands of times. They're probably aware of those around them that are dangerous. I think Candus has more knowledge than she's acknowledging or sharing, and all three are in agreement. I believe that to the core of my soul. If you have any information on Summer's whereabouts, please call 1-800-TBI-FIND.